Albert, it's so good to have you here at Chobani office in this most important day, and a Refugee Day. And you are one of the most influential CEO in this country, if not in the world. But your presence and your support for refugees is so meaningful, so I'm so honored to be with you today.
Oh, thank you, first of all, for inviting me here, and you have wonderful offices. And it is a great honor for me to be able to speak with you because you have contributed so much into this cause of helping refugees. And to be together with you, that's a very important day of the Refugees Day.
Thank you, thank you.
Well, let me actually start the conversation by asking you a question. The one thing that the two of us share in common a little bit is that we both immigrated to this country. But your story is really amazing, and I remember how strongly I felt when you told me you came, no money, you came, you didn't have any business experience, you couldn't even speak the language when you came here. And then here you are, the founder of one of the most successful, fastest growing food corporation in this country. Do you feel that your hard landing, your tough experiences as you came to this country, your immigrant experience, was an asset or a liability? Did it help you be successful or kept you back?
I think it goes both ways. When I arrived to New York City, I didn't speak any language. I didn't have much money. Those days, as an immigrant, it was very difficult. You have a culture shock. You don't know what you're going to do next. You have a lot of question mark. You're kind of lost. And you feel like you are one and everybody else is separate. You are outside of everybody. But then later on, it became an asset. Because when I moved to upstate New York and I saw a lot of similarities between where I come from and where the life is in upstate New York, in the farms and natures and rivers. And I found out that even though I don't speak the language, I come from a different culture, but in a humanity level, 99.9% we are all the same. We worry about the same things, we do the same things, we worry about our kids, our children, the food, we want to be safe, we want to accomplish things that we want to, and we want to be free. When people ask me about how you adjust the life in America and how you how your background can affect your immigration, your entrepreneurial journey, I said, do not try to get rid of your background, because that's one of your most important assets. But do not let your background to separate you from the world, from where you are. And if you can make that harmony, I think that would be a success. For me, it gave me a huge, huge benefit. You know, I go back to you because not only you're an immigrant, we are from the same part of the world, and you are loaded with massive amount of culture, massive amount of background and history. If you could give us a little bit of sense of your background, how is it shaped as you as a CEO, as a leader?
As you said, I'm also immigrant, but I wouldn't compare our stories. For me, things were much easier. I came while having a good job. So I started with Pfizer in my home country, Greece, and then through corporate transfers, I moved to many different places in the world. And when I came to the US, things were much easier for me. Nevertheless, it was a different country. And always you face the challenges of a different way that the system works. But that was nothing compared to the challenges that other people are facing when they come or they are forced to immigrate. I've chosen to come here. Nobody threw me out of my country. And you have a very, very different opportunity path. But that being said, as you said, also myself, I'm a proud Greek. I'm Greek by birth, American by choice, I say. I honor my heritage as Greek. The values that the Greek people have. But also within Greece, I was living as a minority because I'm Jewish and Greeks are not. Again, I won't compare it to the oppression that other religious minorities are having maybe in other places, but still you learn that when you are among a group of people that the majority are different, you need to make sure that you adjust and you adapt, and not always is pleasant, and not always you do it in a way that you feel comfortable, but you have to do it. I would say that all these experiences, this diversity of experiences, helped me and made me who I am. And I think in Pfizer, one thing that I think is one of the major drivers of success is that we have a lot of diversity. If I think within my leadership team, the head of research is from Sweden, I'm from Greece. The head of development when we did the vaccine was from Scotland, now he's from China. The head of HR is from Afghanistan. The head of digital is from Mexico. It is this diversity of experiences that I think when they meet in an environment that is inclusive and make everyone feel comfortable, is that brought us the success.
So true. And now we're talking about our background to one of the most alarming topic that we are facing today is refugees with the Ukrainian war. And it is so amazing, your leadership and Pfizer's commitment to help refugees. How did that become one of the things that you personally get involved among things saving the world, saving the humanity? How do you put it into a scale of saying what's so important, and how do you spend your time and importance on topic like this? In Pfizer, we have 4 values that basically define our culture, and one of them is equity. And when we speak about equity, we define it internally and externally. And internally takes the shape of inclusion, diversity, as we said. But externally takes the shape that we want to see where, with our actions, we can make a difference to society. And equity doesn't mean giving everyone the same. Equity means giving more to those that they need more. Yes. And the refugees are in great need right now. We were ready because we were very sensitive to this social issue. So when the thing happened this suddenly in Afghanistan that created a huge refugee wave, immediately we jumped into it, and we tried to do our best in helping this situation. And we are very proud not only how much we started doing, but more importantly how our employees embraced this initiative, and they raised their hand to be able to help. So that was the reason why we went into it, and that's why the reason we are very committed to stay. But you tell me also, TEND, it's an extraordinary organization, okay? Tell me what drove you to create TEND. Albert, I started hiring refugees in my plant in upstate New York after this old factory that we took and started making Greek yogurt. And we hired everybody that we could hire in those small towns in Norwich. And then I expanded and I hit the town called Utica. And there I used to live in an apartment. They said there are a lot of refugees settled in this town, and they're having a hard time finding jobs. So I went to Refugee Settlement Agency there. There's an amazing lady. I said, what is the problem? Why can't they find jobs? She said, well, we have a lot of people from all over the world legally settled here. They don't speak the language. They don't have cars and driver license. They just arrived, or maybe within a year. And they don't have the training of the jobs that is available here. The last part is people really don't want to bother because, if they want to hire, they hire the others, and there's a little bit of negativity around it. So I said, okay, these are easy. We can solve these. We can rent cars and buses for people until they get their own cars. We can get translators to help them understand what the job is inside the factory. And then we can get a job training program inside the factory for them to learn. And I said, let's start it. And people said, are you not afraid that people who work in the factory will see some people from other part of the world that might create some clashes. I said, no, I trust our culture, and I think this is going to be really, really helpful for people to understand what others are going through, and it will create a really great culture and community. And I was right. It really happened when Yazidis get attacked in Syria, and Yazidis are a Kurdish minority. I immediately said, I have to do something. I don't know what, but I have to do something. So I went to Switzerland and to UNHCR, United Nations High Commission for Refugees, and I asked, how can I help? What can I do? One of the conversation led into the innovation on this space of refugees, and they said, well, we really don't have any companies that are involved with this topic. If we can start something that encourages companies worldwide to hire and train and use their supply chain to encourage others to hire and train wherever they are, we could have some dramatic effect on people's life. In 2016, with few companies, we launched it. Today, we have 220 companies worldwide. It's a very small team. We focus on employment. We focus on, like for example, we love you, but we love Payal more. The head of HR.
Story of my life.
Head of HR, head of people, and because they are the ones who find solutions, right? They are the ones who make sure that it doesn't get lost in paperwork or in a screening. And this is not by any means solving the most dramatic humanitarian crisis we are facing right now, but at least it's making an impact.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
So when a decision made to hire, refugees into Pfizer, how Pfizer go by and make this a reality? How is that come to reality?
When there is a will, there is always a way. And I think for everyone, the important thing was to see that we were serious about it. When we made the announcement that we just didn't leave it in the press release, but the next day we started making some phone calls. So what do you have, what do you have? Originally the idea here in the US particularly was to hire people in our manufacturing sites. And we were invited multiple times, 5, 6 times, in military camps where refugees were. Then we realized that the gamut of people that we are dealing with, they have way more skills than just to become and help us with the production of our medicines in our manufacturing sites. So we had healthcare professionals, we had accountants, we found people that they were technologists. So we broadened that. They are so happy and so committed to return the blessing that they found a job, to return it by doing an excellent job, that no barrier is really a barrier. And right now we have set a goal to touch the lives of 250 families. The first 100 is with hiring, other 150 with mentoring, which is also a very important part. And we have so many people that are raising their hands, and they feel proud for what we do, employees, and they go there to help.
And if you look at the crisis that we're seeing in the world, and there are parts in the politics and the wars and all that kind of stuff, and then there's a part of the humanitarian crisis. We have 7 million Ukrainians are fleeing from Ukraine to neighboring countries, which I am a lot pleased how Europeans and the people of Poland and neighboring countries are reacting, which is not dissimilar to what it was during World War II, which we are pleased to see. This topic of refugees is not going anywhere. And I am so honored and so proud that you and I will going to chair this September the 10th US Business Summit. In there, our teams are going to encourage so many other companies and come and join us. And a CEO of Manpower is joining us, the former Secretary of Commerce, Antonio Gores, is joining us, and some others from the administration too. And in this summit, will be thousands of jobs. This will be promised. Of course, these are very important steps, Albert. But if you look at from where you are, and from the position that where you are, if you look at this humanitarian crisis, do you feel this topic is so big and we're going to get lost into this, or do you feel like there's a sign of corporate responsibilities that the brands and companies are going to get into this in a very meaningful way that we can see a sign of solving it?
I'm optimistic, but this doesn't mean that we should relax. It can happen, but we need to make it happen. It will not just happen on its own. And that's why we need to use our influence. Sometimes it's as easy as making 3-4 phone calls that will unlock so many doors, just because people in the middle of everything, they realize that that's an important topic, and they realize that they can do something about it, and it really doesn't cost that much more than their attention.
People will talk about strategy, innovation, speed, and all that kind of stuff, but sometimes people forget, and often they forget, especially the leaders, that what makes things happen really in the background is not to lose connection to those so-called little things, which is, in your case, what you're saying is the most important case.
And the little things are setting, your attention to the little things is what everybody's watching in the organization. And this is where the judgment about you is coming, and it is fair, actually.
And it creates the organization that can solve the world's most alarming problem, which is life of the people, where Pfizer became a name on my household, on everybody's household. And I'd like to think that your leadership and your attention to the people and understanding that people makes organizations successful and meaningfully and authentically is the reason that success has happened, and the moonshot really did happen. And this effort to refugees is the extension of that already existing culture.
Of course. But you in your company, you were the pioneer on that, as you just alluded before. And I'm sure that your experience, but please correct me and tell me what you think. The experience was not that they were a problem. Actually, they were not even neutral. I think they were a positive impact. Yes. Because they are bringing very different connection to the enterprise, because they understand how important this offer was for their life, and they are creating a commitment and a loyalty that it is inspiring many times. How that affected Chobani operations, for example?
So I say, it's built, my company is built by people who let go from the factory by closing the factory as factory workers in that community, and the immigrants and refugees. So here's the effect of refugees. If someone has lost everything, lived in a danger of losing his or her life and children's life or the family life, and then often get into a journey where often is extremely difficult to go through, whether you are going from Venezuela to Colombia, or Syria to Greece, or Myanmar to Bangladesh. Those journeys are extremely difficult, and some of them has horror stories. And you go through that, and you survive. And then you go to a place where you settle temporarily until some home country is accepting you. And you go through that. And then you settle in one place. And then you still don't give up, to hang on to life. And then you go to Chobani or Pfizer. What do you think that person is going to do? That person is probably one of the most solution-finding person that you have ever met in your life. That person has gone through so much. It's not the same person who's left the home anymore. And the senses and creativity and the hard work and survival and not giving up, all of those abilities and capabilities is embodied in that person. Now, there is two things you can do. You can access to that, or you can avoid that. Avoiding that is one of the biggest loss, in my opinion. But I always say you don't want people to be a refugee or forced to go from their home. But we would be crazy not to have those people to part of us, because it's unimaginable creativity, hard work, and on the side of it is the culture that they bring in the local place. Because you value life by just watching how they try to, stay on life. And the commitment, oh my God, the commitment, Albert, it is compared to nothing. Because it's a sign when that, Afghani person who doesn't speak the language and arrives to one of your factory or one of your office, for us is another person maybe, but for him, it's the beginning of new life after all that horrible time is gone. Every day after that day is a beautiful day. You go to Utica today is having a second life. Homes are being built, stadiums are being opened, the movie theaters are being opened, the malls are active, the schools. It is completely transformed. An article, and of course rightfully so, gives all these credits to refugees who came and re-energized the community. That's what they do.
Amazing story.
Yeah. In behalf of TANT, what we do and the refugees in all these years, your personal contribution and Pfizer's contribution and commitment, and of course you do it because you believe in this, it means so much. And thank you to you and your team and Pfizer. And as a parent, as a citizen, I want to thank you for the work that you've done during the pandemic to come up with a solution so we can go back to life. We owe your employees, your scientists, your executive team a lot. Humanity will never forget. And while you're doing that, still being conscious to people and refugees, it's a lessons to me, affirms what I believe is the right thing with your success and your work, bringing your power, your leadership into this topic is going to save lives and is going to make life better, and you know it, and we all know it. I want to thank you, and thank you for being with us today.
Thank you for inviting me. Thank you for your very kind words. I accept them on behalf of the thousands of Pfizer employees that really made that happen during the pandemic. And thank you for the work that you are doing with TENT. And if my participation can influence a few more companies and CEOs to pay a little bit of attention to this issue, then we've won a lot. So thank you.